Welcome back here once again. Now, when this was first announced, when this was first announced, I had the same reaction as everybody else. But I actually wanted this to come out. I really wanted this to come out so I could literally rip into how bad it was. I really wanted it to come out. Because this book, and I'm going to get into it for a second. I'm going to get into it just now. But this book showcased something that I'm going to touch on, and it's going to show how not just one person was responsible or anything like that. Now let's get into it. It's an article from CBR. What happened to the New Warriors 30th anniversary celebration? An anniversary relaunch of Marvel's New Warriors was announced in 2020, but controversy and ridicule preceded the title's seeming cancellation. Yeah, this was the most ratioed video on YouTube because they did this whole promotional video for it on YouTube, and it just got bombarded with people talking about how awful it truly was. Absolutely freaking awful. Though they're certainly no Avengers, the New Warriors have quite a history in the Marvel Universe as a hero team. Uniting several younger superheroes, the team's heyday was definitely back in the 1990s. Unfortunately, since then, being seen as rather disposable by Marvel and are typically vehicles for controversial storytelling. Yes, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong about this. If somebody knows and they could correct me, okay, but I could be wrong about this. It's either one or two of the New Warriors, the other New Warriors team, I remember, no, not this one. The other New Warriors team, if I'm not mistaken, they were responsible for starting Civil War. I think they did something where they blew up some kind of thing and killed a bunch of people and children, and that started the whole Civil War thing where you had Tony Stark basically became like the flicking Gestapo and was rounding up superheroes who didn't want to join the Superhero Registry Act, and Captain America was fighting against, and then Daredevil, I think, basically called Tony Stark Judas. A lot of people weren't too happy with the with Civil War, and I will admit there's certain parts of it that I wasn't happy about, but I honestly wanted Captain America to literally beat the shit out of Iron Man. I really wanted that because we got some things in that story that just didn't make any kind of sense. You had Peter Parker revealing that we had Spider-Man revealing that he's Peter Parker to the whole world because he was on Tony Stark's side, and then he had to turn around and change sides because he realized Tony Stark was becoming basically a sycophant. You know, they even had Reed Richards cloning Thor because I think Thor was dead at the time, but you know, they must come back and all that. It was a real madness. But again, as I say, I really wanted Captain America to beat the crap out of Iron Man. But anyway, let's get back to this. There was no better example of the latter than the planned 2020 relaunch of the team's book. The planned 6th volume of New Warriors was meant to be a more progressive, well, already it failed. Modern version of the team that included an original cast. What was shown, however, was a misfire of ideas. Despite its inclusive aims, since then there's been no word on the book, and many believe that Marvel has quietly scrapped it. Here's how the most notorious team of New Warriors yet became victims of a very different kind of cancel culture. Yeah, this was the poster that they went with. They had this vampire thing there, whatever, this fat chick, some guy with some kind of glasses. I think he was the one who got powers from internet gas. And then these two were the ones people had a problem with. The ones people had a problem with, Save Space and Snowflake. We'll get to them in a minute. That's written and drawn by Daniel Kibblesmith, well, I should tell you, and Luciano Vecino. The planned 6th volume of the New Warriors was announced in March 2020. The intention was for it to be released as part of the 30th anniversary of the original, and so it made sense that several old New Warriors would make their return. Speedball, Rage, and other members of the team's old rosters would return to teach a new generation of heroes, all of whom were original characters. Basically, these are the new warriors. Recruits were Screen Time, B Negative, that's the vampire, Trailblazer, Snowflake, and Safe Space. Intended to make the new warriors more accurate, these teams were meant to be reflective of the modern world and its demographics. Well, no. Unfortunately, audiences from all walks of life came together in disappointment with the way in which the characters were presented. Yeah, because when you have no freaking talent, it's just say, hey, let's just put something out there and call it inclusive and diverse and all sorts of other rubbish. Yeah, so here they are. Safe Space and Snowflake. Come back to them in a minute. The nature of the 2013 New Warriors was obvious to anyone who saw the book's imagery. Created to appeal to youth. Well, the youth didn't want it. The book itself felt instantly dated. The result was a series of questionable ideas that are for some reason played straight. For instance, Screen Time was a character described as being obsessed with memes, having gained superpowers after being exposed to experimental internet gas. I couldn't believe it when I read that either. It actually sounds quite funny, but the fact that so much of this was meant to be taken seriously was perhaps the biggest problem. Then there were the siblings, Snowflake and Safe Space, right? Whose ironic names were only the beginning of their problems. The two were gifted with cryogenic and force field powers. Their names reflected these abilities as much as they did the offensive slang that they're derived from. Apparently, the idea was that these two, one of whom was non-binary, yes, of course, because that is essential. That's essential. Not good storytelling, somebody must be non-binary, that is essential. Were reclaiming the words empowering themselves by using monikers meant to hurt them. It ended up coming off more as a self-parody or like something supposedly created by the alt-right in order to make fun of such concepts. Yeah, let's train the alt-right there. I could understand, but let's say Safe Space and Snowflake. They're supposed to be twins, but look at the way that they're represented here. They look more like lovers. One of the middle of it, like that. Now, Safe Space in pink. He was basically supposed to be like they portrayed him as some kind of jock or something like that, right? And he's wearing pink here and all, right? And he could create force fields, but not around himself. He could basically create force fields around anything else. And then we had Snowflake, who had cryogenic freezing water. I think, again, I don't know which one of them was supposed to be non-binary. I really don't know. Nobody gives that crap about it enough. But the entire roster of this thing made no sense. And these two didn't help much at all. The other character was somewhat better. Who tells you that? With Trailblazer and the gut vampire B Negative not being quite as unintentionally stereotypical. B Negative actually had ties to Morbius the Living Vampire. Well, jeez, having received his power from a similar experiment. Gee, can't even be original. Sadly, this interesting form of legacy was never explored because nobody cared. Many of the ideas seem to be falling back on harmful stereotypes, making the supposedly progressive messaging be anything but. Fans took to the internet to criticize Marvel for greenlighting the book, so perhaps it's for the best that the finished product was never saw the light of day. Yeah, because I know people who basically put in orders to get it because they wanted to get it so they could rip it apart at how bad it was going to be, and still to this day haven't gotten it. When the COVID-19 pandemic began to wreak havoc across the world, governments responded by shutting down their countries. This slowed commerce and business to a sharp halt, with many comic book publishers responding by cancelling many of their scheduled titles. Some of these books were lucky enough to get rescheduled for release at a later date, but many were destined to never see the light of day. Worst of all, there were some books in the latter category who rather unceremoniously met this fate. being quietly cancelled without being acknowledged by the publisher. So far, that seems to have been the case for the Marvel planned New Warriors project. There's been no news on the book, with both Marvel and creative team remaining silent on its fate. Look, basically it's done, right? Basically it's done. But let me say this. New Warriors showed something very, very interesting when it came to this whole thing. And I said I was going to talk about this before. Let me get to it now. What was interesting about, I shouldn't even say interesting, what New Warriors showed was that it's not just one person that is to blame for it. It showed that, the rot comes from basically top down. Because remember, this had to go, you had the creator, the writer who made it, the artists, the inkers, the letterers, the editors who approved this crap to put it out there. So it wasn't just one person. They put it out there. And let's not forget other projects like, Vita Ayala's Children of the Atom, which was another gigantic horror fest, giving the X-Men some kind of weird sidekicks that nobody wanted. That didn't last long, but we have the New Warriors. And a basic entity that nobody was interested in. The characters were horrible. We didn't even get a chance at them, but you just kept making this. But I, for one, wanted them to put it out. I still want them to put it out, because I want them to show everybody just how bad they are. Because it continues what I've always said. They don't care about their audience. When you can greenlight this, right? When you can greenlight this as a project, it shows that, listen, all we want to do is tick a couple boxes and appeal to a couple people on Twitter who are never going to buy our work. And when the actual fans get into an uproar because they're asking themselves, why am I spending money on this garbage? You have a problem with that. Take up any Marvel comic today, any kind of Marvel comic today, and you just run your finger along the page, ink comes off. Because why? They don't care about putting out quality products anymore. They don't. They've basically taken it and said, you know what, you could go to hell. They don't care about putting out anything of quality at all anymore. Nothing. They don't pay their staff very good either, because that's sort of a problem now. Where why should we pay you a decent salary? You should be happy to work for Marvel. People ain't happy anymore. So we didn't get the New Warriors for the 30th anniversary, because this train wreck would have been one people would have loved to watch as it rolled right on through Marvel and took out the entire crappy industry with it. This is what was going to happen. And when they got that backlash online, when people literally ratioed the hell out of that video, because people were asking themselves, what the hell were you thinking? And the question is, why were you thinking it would work? And the answer is, because you don't care. As far as you are concerned, all you need to do is appeal to your overlords on Twitter. That's what matters. And when you get the crap kicked out of you online for making rubbish, you have a problem with that. I, for one, say, bring it out. Don't pray, because I am quite sure they still have it somewhere, I'm quite sure they still have it somewhere. Bring it out. Let people get a look at it. I want to read it. I don't read Marvel anymore. I don't read Marvel or DC comics anymore at all. But I would want to read this to see just how freaking awful it is. So I could probably get like 3 videos out of this, honestly. I want to see it. I really want to see just how bad it is, because, if the leading things you have to start with is Snowflake and Save Space, who are supposed to be twins, and this is how you depict them here, God alone knows what was going to happen in the book. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you have a different opinion, I'd love to hear it. If you like the video, be sure to hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, ring the notification bell, be sure to share the video out there, it really helps. And I shall see you all next time. And you warriors, take care.